All right. Thank you guys so much for hopping into another episode here on the Systemize Your Life podcast and YouTube channel. So excited. We have an incredible student here with us. Pauli, welcome to Systemize Your Life. We're so happy that you're here. I would love for you to introduce yourself. And the one thing that I ask all of my guests here on the show is tell us a little bit about what you juggle on a regular basis.
Sure. I'm thrilled to be here because this podcast has been a lifesaver as well as your program. So yes, my name is Polly and I have two littles, a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I homeschool both of them. I have a pelvic floor physical therapy practice that I am out of the house for 2 days a week. And then I have several online programs and running, I guess, the online space on the weekends. We also have some rental properties that I help manage. And I guess all the other things that we're trying to juggle, like keeping a clean house, which sometimes I'm not the best at. So I just trying to be a mom and run a business and help other women be the moms that they want to be too.
Yeah, I love that so much, which is a whole conversation that the work that you do is a whole conversation for so many moms, like, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. But one of the reasons why we're really excited to have you on the show is because of the work that you've been doing and so many, I guess, breakthroughs and really unexpected ways that you've had since you've been working on putting systems in your life. And so I was really just excited to have an opportunity for you to share with all of the other women that are sitting in the same spot that you were sitting in before you really dove in and became a student inside of Systemize to Scale. But also, obviously, before that, you were using the podcast to put systems in place too, right? So, why don't you tell us just a little bit about your journey and some of the things that you've been struggling with, some of the breakthroughs that you've had, and just whatever you feel like has been that thing on your heart that you're like, I really need other people to know about this because it's not really what you would expect. I probably not what you saw or what you thought would happen, the transformation that you thought. And maybe some ways are pretty straightforward, like I have a menu board now or whatever, But I think there's so many other things that you've really brought into the community that are really beautiful from the work that you've been doing.
Well, first, thank you. I first discovered your podcast, and to be honest, I don't actually know how it popped up. And I ended up binging it on a drive. I live in Utah, and I was driving up to Idaho to see my family. And I binged, I don't know, probably 60 on the way up episodes. And I just kept feeling, man, this is an answer to my prayer because leading up to this, I guess to last summer, trying to feel like I have that balance where I'm doing a good job in my business, but I'm also doing a really good job at home. I homeschool my two babies because I think it's important. I want to be with them. I know a lot of other moms have that same sentiment, but it's a struggle. And I never wanted to call it a struggle to raise my babies and to be able to build a business. I just had this feeling that it was possible to do both and not be stressed out all the time. And so when I was listening to your podcasts, it was really evident to me that you did things differently, that my role as a wife and a mother mattered maybe even more than my role as a business owner and, trying to build a business because every other coach, for the most part, maybe it wasn't always said directly, that I needed just to push that aside for a time, my role as a wife and a mother, and just focus on the business. And I always felt like I was failing at both. And so you were, I think Systemize to Scale had just launched for like where it's always open. I could be wrong. I think that was my understanding. And I prayed about it all weekend. And I thought, you know what? I don't actually know if this will work for me because at the time, my marriage was going through one of the roughest points it had ever been in. And I thought, well, this might end in divorce, or if we're somehow able to fix this, like this could be, I don't know, like it's probably not for me. And you wrote me an email specifically that I still go back and read quite often because you were so encouraging, but not in a way like, well, come join me. I can solve all your problems if you felt called to do it. And I was like, yeah, but like, you don't know my life. You don't know how full it is. You don't know how busy it is.
Yeah.
I juggle more than most. And when I sat down to start doing the lessons, I really loved how structured everything was. The coaching was it's very helpful. Like I look forward, I mean, I make it every week, but I look forward to it.
Mhm.
And I love how nothing wavers. Like
Mm.
there's some of us that will say, well, we wanna, and I'll probably have to think of an example in a minute, but we'll find some reason like why we have to do it different. And because you've put the work in and because you've done this
Yeah.
and you've helped so many women and other business owners, you're like, no. And here's why. There's always a reason. It's not just no, do it my way.
Yeah.
There's a reason. I'll be honest, I was so skeptical going through, like you had made a promise, that your to-do list, once you utilize your systems, your to-do list will be minimal. And I was like, oh, Chelsea, you don't know me. You don't know me at
No,
all.
it's
And
what I say. I can reduce your to-do list by 95%. And I'm so serious about it. Some people I'm like, all right, maybe 90, but like that's my hard cutoff. For real.
it's
Like,
true. It's
tell
true.
me how that's going.
It's it's so true. And that is the one thing that every week would stress me out the most. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
there's many things, but gosh, like everything on my list, I just had to move it over to the next week. And
Mhm.
then at the end of that week, I had to move it over to the next week. Like I kept wasting time, writing out my to-do list every week and I was never getting anything done.
Yeah.
I have appreciated the system so much. And the other thing that I'll say is between August of when I joined and now February, my life has been all over the place. And one of the things that you said to me was it doesn't matter what season you're in, by being in this program, we're going to help you sort out all those seasons. So no matter like there's ebbs and flows. And that is one thing that I have appreciated so much that you and Christine have held so much space for me as I've showed up,
Mhm.
not knowing if my marriage is going to end, and that's kind of how it's looking that it is going to end. I now need to show up differently for my kids and for my business. And the coaching has been so helpful and so encouraging. The women in the community are kind. I have been in a lot of communities, and this is probably the kindest, most loving group of women. And I'm sure that probably says something about you and
Mhm.
Christine and how you run it. But no matter where I've been, because I've life has changed a lot, the systems have always worked. They've always worked. And I've always been able to go back to the foundations that you talk about. And while I'm probably not the best student because I'm juggling all of this legal stuff now, it it's been life-changing and it's been an answer to prayer that I have been hoping for years.
Yeah. Well, I remember writing you that email. So Polly actually sent an email and was like, I don't know if I should do this, And we get a lot of emails. We do. And I don't know you, I don't really know anybody. But obviously, as a believer, I put everything in God's hands and I know that I'm running a company that is very public. I mean, my podcast reaches every corner of the world. And so we have people that are international in our program whose cultures I don't understand, right? And every family has unique cultures that I don't understand. And so whenever I respond to people, I try and take all of that into consideration. But at the end of the day, I just say, you know, I have to trust that I am equipped as a business owner and as a coach to be able to handle whatever comes my way. And in the grand scheme of things, I believe that, our God is big enough to help me and so many other people and to truly navigate all of the people through the doors of my community and out, right? In and out and have that constant flow in a capacity to where I can respond in an email, even not knowing you, and feel really confident about that. But I'll be honest, there have been times where me being so black and white with my system, and that's why I really wanted to have you on the show. At times I was like, are we helping her? Are we helping her? You know what I mean? Like, oh my goodness. And I'm just being really candid because I always am. Like, I'm a very open coach. This program is about me taking a thing that I know without a shadow of a doubt has completely changed my life and so many other women. And so I'm confident in that now. But there are some people that, because of what they're navigating or how they're mentally processing or what spiritually and emotionally they're going through, the system is not like the key doesn't fit, meaning not that it couldn't ever, but like it's just locked right now. Like the door is locked. There's not availability for it. And so that's been really cool with you is to watch over the last several months. You've just been applying it at the capacity and for whatever season that you're in, you've been applying it how you can. And I think things have been changing so quickly for you that it's been about learning. And that's for me where I really want my students to get. So you've had to, a lot of students have the, I'll use the word privilege because I do think that right now this is a hard season in your life, right? And so,
Yeah.
um, we all are privileged when we have good seasons, right? And our hard seasons are seasons of learning and being refined and we've talked about this on the calls in coaching, but I think a lot of students they get to come in and they have like this even kind of playing field for a while to absorb and to learn and to practice, and then they get thrown into a season where it's like, oh gosh, and you've kind of been like, oh gosh, from the beginning of like,
Yeah.
what is this? And you've had to be very adaptable. And so one of the things that we talk about in the program a lot is to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And that's just been like you the whole way through is trying to figure out how to improvise, how to adapt these systems and how to overcome week by week, day by day, month by month. And you've shared so openly your journey with every person in the community, which I'm always like, everyone's praying for Pauli in the community. Everyone's hearts are with you. And I think it's helped all of us be really encouraging to you and the work that you've been doing. But I think I'm curious what you think what's been the staple for you? Like, I know the community has been something that's really been able to hold you up. So if you want to talk about specifics in that, but also if there's anything tangible that like you cling to, even in the pockets of the day. So before you answer that, I just want to kind of share that, yeah, Polly's been learning the systems and she's been going through all of it. And it's not been able to be black and white and cut and dry. But that's one of the things that we teach is what do you do when you're in survival mode? And how do you make the best of survival mode? How do you really grieve when you're in a season of grieving? How do you nurture deeply when you're in a season of nurturing because everybody's sick in the house? And you've even had layers of that on top of other seasons, right? And how do we maintain our business through all of that? So that's really what we've been working on a lot with you. So I'm curious, what are the little nuggets that you've pulled out that you've been able to cling through throughout kind of the highs and lows of putting systems in place?
So I think, I'll apologize upfront to Christine because she'll always tell me you need to get your nighttime routine squared away. Like
Yeah.
that is it. And sometimes I'm so tired that I don't always do that. But the one thing, well, there's many. One of the bigger ones is because you talk so much about like the morning, like the AM block and then the PM block, like you're all in your home and your kids. Like that's all
Yeah.
you're doing. If you want time to, squeeze in like work time or whatever, and just the way my schedule is. But that has been a very big saving grace. Like as silly as it sounds, like somebody who lives a state away that I've never met in person is giving me permission, I guess Christine too, but is giving permission to me to be all in and not have to worry about my business in that
Yeah.
time when so many people in like the mom and the business space that are like, oh, get the pockets, get the pockets, get the pockets. And
Mhm.
many times with the because I've had lots of shifts in my business in the last 6 months, but you have often said, well, okay, but Pauli, I'm worried you're going to burn out if you do it that way. Like you
Yeah.
can do it, but I'm worried. No coach has ever suggested that to me. And I've heard you say that to other women too. It's not just me and this
Right.
what roller coaster that I'm on. And so that speaks volumes to me because I think probably before I started implementing your systems, while my words and my heart was with my kids, many times it was with my business because I
Yeah.
don't think I had that structure that you helped me create where I can leave the business, mentally leave the business because I know it's there because of how you've taught us to do it. And then I can go be all in with my kids. And that was something that I knew no matter how my life looked, how it ended, by the time I'm done working with you, I wanted to be able to give my kids all my time because that's how not all my time, but be all in with
Yeah,
them. That's been one of the big things. One of the other ones is again, I don't know if I can stress this as much as I'd like to, is your concern for us. You and Christine, I can tell. And there was one coaching call that you did give me some tough love, and I didn't take it personal whatsoever. But I was crying to you, saying like, I am dealing with this monster of betrayal trauma, and like I'm trying to take care of that, but like I need to be present for my children because my kids don't know what's happening
of course.
yet. And but I still have to make money. I'm now essentially the sole provider, and but I'm also trying to do all this other stuff. And most people in my life, they're like, it'll be fine, like God will take care of you, you'll be blessed. But you're like, well, you have to still like pay the bills. And I think I needed that reality where yes, I was being held, but I was coming to you and saying like, I still need to make money, like I'm the one paying the bills at the
Yeah.
moment. And your love and concern, I think, shows through your coaching. And as I sit and listen to the coaching calls, because there's little pieces that I hear like, oh, I am struggling with that too, but it's not on the forefront of my mind.
Yeah.
Your ability to coach each of us is really remarkable because I'm going through something totally different than like I'm thinking of some of the other ladies, like they all have different things going on. The
Mhm.
message is still the same, but how you curate it for each of us is really good. Um, I think the other thing too is not being so dependent on my computer.
Mm, I love that.
That because everything is set up in the cockpit, right? Like
Yeah.
it's there and I can just shut it. I don't have to necessarily look at my planner and haul that big thing around all the time. Just I just know and I can trust. And I think to some degree it probably I'm sure you probably know this. It offloads this like mental burden of like,
Yeah.
okay, like what's next? Like what do I have to do today? Because like you said, you can offload our to-do list by 95%, which it's
Yeah.
so true.
There's so much good stuff in there. And I'm really so excited. So I guess I'll just work my way backwards. The whole concept of like, oh, look, here's my cockpit. And so I can mentally unload everything. You must just be like really picking up on that and flying through that on your own because you haven't had a ton of questions about it, really. Right. So it seems, and I'm so glad that you said that because I love that that has been something that's been easy for you to pick up and implement. And it has allowed you, because every single person comes in with a different kryptonite, shall we say, right?
Mhm.
And some people are like, I just can't get it together. Like they're so good on the home front and everything's great, but when they sit down, they like cannot figure out what to do in their work block and it
Mhm.
kills them and they're hustling or they're just super inconsistent, right? And so then when I hear and we're talking more about this, just directly me and you, I'm like, oh, okay. So she's really been able to unplug from work and things are going okay or maybe great or whatever there and it's given you the capacity to fill that void that you had had on the motherhood front this whole time. And I'm so glad to know that the cockpit has been a really big piece of that because that's one of the four core workflows that we
Mhm.
teach inside of Systemize to Scale. I think that that was the biggest thing for me because, I was a single mom for a while and had come out of an abusive relationship and I had to make money. It wasn't an option. And so I think there's just a very small piece without knowing any details of your situation other than it's hard and, kind of the context of it. I understand what it's like to have kids. I mean, I only had one at the time, but to have money to be able to put food on the table and to be able to support and what that looks like with babysitters and all the things. Like there's so much that in a second I really do understand. So there's not an option to just sit and snuggle with your kids and clean your house all day. Like you have to reserve a piece of you for making money. And I mean, I still do. It's a different scenario, right? I'm married and we're, here past that situation, but there's still a part of me that absolutely is required and has to be reserved for making money. So I think it's just so important that I've always found it to be really important in my coaching that I'm pretty matter of fact and I have to feel each student out. And I remember that day I was like, well, this is either going to go over really well or it's not. But you can get a vibe for people. And I think that's the really fun part of being in an intimate program. I always love being in a program where my coaches actually care and get to know me. And we are working really hard to make sure that the scalability of Systemize to Scale still holds that thread there. But I love that 95% of your to-do list has been removed because most of that is inside of your cockpit, and the other stuff that you have to do at home is dialed in to your fundamental needs and your routine stacks. And we have most of that automated, which is really exciting. So while we're on, and also before I move on, I just want to say thank you for appreciating what we do and for trusting us because you have put a lot of trust in our fellow students, the other women in the community, and our coaching. And I've had thousands of students, and it still is just like remarkably humbling. And there's so much gratitude that I have when students trust me with their money and with their time and with their children and their hearts and their businesses, right? All of these things are so precious and they all kind of come together when you make a decision to invest in our program. And so we're very grateful for that. And I just want you to know that we appreciate you sticking it through and just showing up all the time. But what I want to spend the last few minutes doing is talking about the work that you do and what these systems have allowed you to do in your business. So obviously I want to talk about, you mentioned a little bit about the pelvic floor work that you do and the practice that you run, which if people are local, obviously that is something that they can get involved with. But you have online courses, I'm assuming, and support that you can do. So what does that look like for you right now? And how are you using systems in that? And then just talk to us about what you do and the services that you have.
Sure. I because of my situation, I've realized, okay, well, how do I spend more time with my kids? But obviously I have a clinic to run, and I do feel really honored that I get to, similar but not similar, like to come talk to me about pain with intimacy and leaking and how they don't feel like they are who they are, but like they were before they had kids.
Yeah.
And it's something that's awfully neglected. And I mean, I'm sure you can, attest to this, that most of us moms were like, okay, we have to put ourselves on the back burner, right? Like one of the reason you have, I'm assuming, the fundamental needs is to ensure that we're getting the things done that we need to. Like I've started painting my nails for the first time. That doesn't have anything to do with my health. But, for some of us, it looks different. If you can't exercise because you're leaking or because you have diastasis that's keeping you from doing it, or prolapse, or, all the different things, it can really it can create a bigger impact negatively in your life, in your health, than maybe what you might imagine. And so I still want to help with that impact, but still be home with my kids. And so I'm out in the clinic 2 days a week. And then one of the things that shifted was I got my Idaho license, so I can start doing more virtual calls up there and work with insurance, that type of a way. And I was actually sitting at my daughter's therapy appointment, and it hit me like it was, I'm pretty sure it was a divine download or something to that effect, where I was sitting there and I thought, and I ran some numbers really fast. Like if I sold this many programs, but then I worked in the clinic this much, and then I had this many patients from Idaho, what would that look like? And then I literally heard your voice, but how are you fitting that into your cockpit? And so I sat down and I was trying to sort out well, how many hours would this be? Right. Cause just cause I could make all this certain amount of money, how's it going to fit? And so I it's what I have on my board. It's what I have in my phone. Like this certain amount of number in less than 28 hours a week. And because
Yeah.
of your systems, I've been able to figure out, okay, like how does that look? And
Yeah.
while I'm in the process of, setting up the Idaho thing, because I had to get my license and a Google list, anyways, all the things, I got to go up there next week. But the systems have, because normally if I was going to take on a new project, like you talk about all the time, like, oh, your project works, it's not as much as what you think, right? Like, because
Yeah.
I would just go all in and just spend days, nights, early mornings just trying to get it done. Now I've been able to take it and it feels a lot more manageable to like,
Yeah.
okay, well, here's when I'm working on the Idaho stuff. Here's when I'm working on the online stuff. It matters to me to still help women. And so I have, courses you can go through that they all have coaching. I'm using air quotes if you can't see me. But it's very similar. Just, okay, well, here's a program, and then I'll kind of help hold your hand through the process. So, like a friend of mine that I went to college with needed help with her diastasis, and she bought one of my programs. And she's like, I
Mhm.
can't. She's like, I just bought it to support you, but I didn't actually think that I was going to get results like over the phone or Marco Polo
Yeah.
is how I do it. So it's funny to me to like, yeah, that is crazy. Like I'm helping a college friend recover after having her baby via Marco Polo, and
Yeah.
it's helping her, with X, Y, and Z, which allows her, to show up as a better mom and to show up as a better wife and to finally feel confident in her body again. And so while there might be some vanity metrics on my side in comparison to what you're doing, I just have seen such a change in women when they get done, right? Like, well, now I can comfortably wear whatever color leggings I want to in my workout because I'm not worried I'm
Mhm.
gonna pee and everyone's gonna see it. Or
That is
I
so
finally,
funny.
yeah,
I love
it
that
happens.
so much. No, it's so real because I'm like, oh, well, we're coming
Yeah.
out. We're jump roping today. I'm definitely wearing black leggings. Like, this is
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
real thing that women actually think about. It's so funny.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Such a
Yes.
problem. It's such a problem too, because and a journey. And it's so funny because I've been prioritizing my health for a long time now, but just recently in the last 2 years and in the last like 6 months, I hired a personal trainer.
Mhm.
And I keep telling Blaine, I'm like, I need to shift some money over into the pelvic floor area of my life because there's like seasons of it too. And I definitely don't struggle like a lot of women do for sure. But, like the running joke with my kids is, Mom, come jump on the trampoline. I'm like, hard no, absolutely not. We're not jumping on the trampoline today. And I'm like, that's not normal. That didn't used to be normal, and it's just a thing that women just will put off indefinitely forever and ever and ever and ever. And although I have had tremendous progress from when I first started working out, like literally couldn't do anything. And that's definitely not the case anymore. I think that there's still professional help, like a level of professional help um, that would, and it's just like hilarious that you brought that up because I literally thought that the other day. I was like, I think we're jump roping today. Probably should just put black leggings on just in case. It's like always a seed of doubt in the back of my mind because of what I had gone through and because of how bad
Mhm.
it was for so long. So I'm so glad that there's actually people like you that are helping other women that are really struggling. Um, and we see what happens in other countries where they just get this help postpartum.
Mhm.
It's like a part of their rehab and therapy that they're given from, their medical system. But
Yeah.
we know that we're definitely lacking in this area. So I'm very excited that you've been able to sit down. And this is the other thing that we talk about in Systemize to Scale that you just alluded to is how do we ensure that we're actually focusing on things that matter and that move the needle and know how to look at our numbers to say, well, what do we actually need to be focused on? And so it's great that you've been able to say, like, here's the specific number of hours a week I need in the clinic, and then what else can I do and what do I want to do? And so you have figured that out. And congratulations for being able to expand into Idaho. That's super, super great. You've been working really hard. That does, I mean, and we can tell. And so it's cool to be able to see you celebrate that. And then also you're online to be able to work with people remotely is super cool. and very encouraging. So I hope for any of you that are also having the conversation with yourself about what color leggings should you wear to the workout today, that you go and reach out to Pauli so that she can support you. Where can everybody find you? Let's chat about that and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah. So on Instagram, it's at beyond the V dot by Pauli. And yes, the V means what you think it does. And my website is beyondthevbypauli.com.
Awesome. And Pauli is Pauli.
Yes.
You'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
able to,
Yes.
I know, because I have another friend named Pauli and it's Polloi.
Yeah.
So Pauli,
Yes.
and you guys can find those links down in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here, Pauli. I appreciate it so much. We love having you. I look forward to seeing you at our next group coaching call for sure.